let me start with you, Adam. You were in the room, so that's super interesting. Look, he has been counted out so many times before, right? Like after January 6th in particular, and then he rises like a phoenix. So is there anything about this time that feels different?
I think that you made a good point, but the New York Post has always been a bit friendly towards him, and the Wall Street Journal. They seem to be taking a negative tone lately towards Donald Trump. So, but we've been through this so many times, 6 years of Trump, and the media has never been friendly to him. So I don't think this is really going to play a major role in it, because he's built up such a movement and he has such supporters out there throughout the country that he still doesn't have problems filling up 5,000, 10,000 people stadiums. So when it comes down to it, we can have all the chatter in the room of the talking heads, and this will go on for a year. But these primaries come down to Republican voters, and that's what's going to, at the end of the day, that's when it's going to come down to the base. And if he holds that base of supporters that he always has, he'll be the nominee.
Well, that is a big question, right? And these midterms, I think, gave people some indications that Donald Trump's nominees didn't do so well, and maybe that might reflect on Donald Trump himself. Keith Kelly, you used to be at the New York Post, and so you have a sort of a finger on the pulse of the power of the print, right? Power of TV, power of print, power of social media. But doesn't Donald Trump need some media outlets, strong media outlets? Because I'll tell you, Fox News and the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal, they were like a tsunami behind him the last two runs.
They were, although in 2016, the Post pointedly did not endorse anybody for president. But their coverage was very favorable to Donald. I think he definitely needs, Fox and other conservative media outlets. The National Review, I think, was always a never Trumper, so he doesn't really need them. They're kind of a niche political thing. But I do think he needs some big media outlets. I mean, he does have Newsmax media is still solidly in his corner. But Fox, their commentators, while they seem to be ignoring him somewhat, they're not exactly bashing him. The Journal and the New York Post late last year after the hearing said he should never be president again. And, they had that headline after DeSantis swept Florida, the future. And then another one the next day, Trumpy, don't be. They were clearly not on his side. And
right, it's obvious, right? It is honestly obvious, Keith, that Rupert Murdoch has made a big decision, and he has completely turned his attention likely towards Ron DeSantis, although that remains to be seen, except for the whole future business. Calvin, the other part of media now that can't be discounted, and it's even different since 2016, is social media, the power of social media, digital media. And now that Donald Trump doesn't have one of his favorite platforms, which was Twitter, which sometimes he did hundreds of tweets per day, what is that man to do? Truth Social doesn't have the kind of following that Twitter did. And, it was important to him then. It becomes infinitely more important now if he's losing the papers and the TV platforms.
It's true. And when we think about Twitter, there was a point where his tweets were so numerous and so just off the wall that they kind of blended into the background. And so I don't think that's really going to affect him as much, because let me tell you, one thing that I learned about former President Donald Trump is he's an expert at getting in the news cycle and staying there. And I think that he will find a way to do it. And as we've seen with these media outlets who have made very clear that they are trying to drive him out of the 2024 conversation, they're going to do it. But the people that go to his rallies and his base, I don't think they're getting their direction from the Wall Street Journal opinion page. Also, as the campaign goes on and Donald Trump does what he does to get attention, those media outlets who are in the business of media are going to cover him, because the people that they are trying to, their viewers are going to want to hear about him and from him. So it's going to be a challenge, but if anybody can face it, it's Donald Trump.